Hi everybody, Tug here, and well, I just finished up my streams for the week, and I figured I had some time before I broke everything down, so why not go through what I have going on in the office? So I made some tea, and we have some time. Let's find out what's going on back there, shall we? So as you can see, I have a couple pieces of art directly behind me. This one here is from Displate, which if you have not checked out Displate, it's an excellent site. A lot of different artwork in a lot of different styles. Displate prints all of their artwork onto metal plates, and then you hang it up with magnets. It's really neat. This is artwork from Ghost in the Shell, which is probably my favorite anime, and something that becomes more poignant every single year. It's really a fantastic story and world. So if you get a chance to check that one out, I would definitely recommend both the movie and the show. Below that, we have one of my newer pieces, which is from Fangamer, and this is the world of Dark Souls. You can see it in more detail on their site. This is the mid-size one, and it's really, really interesting. It goes from the castle all the way down to Blight Town and the depths of the world. There's a bonfire in there. Apparently on the bigger one, they actually have silver knights up on the castle spires. It's really, really interesting. It is just a poster. I did pick up, I got some teak wood with magnets in it to hang on the top and the bottom, kind of clamp it together, and then hang it so that it looks like a scroll, because I thought it looked very scroll-like. So that's the frame, which does not come with it if you get it from Fangamer. Over here, we have a Star Wars piece of artwork that Wifeboat got for me, actually. And it just has, typical different lines from Star Wars. I'm a huge Star Wars fan and nerd, so I really enjoy anything Star Wars, and a lot of the stuff that's on there is really cool. One of my favorite mug sets that I have that Wifeboat and I use is a Han and Leia set. The Leia one says, "I love you," and the Han one says, "I know," and they go together, and they're really cool. I like those. Below that is a bandana from To Write Love on Her Arms that I had framed that says "Hope Will Not Be Cancelled," and that is from the Nook Summer Charity event. We raised over $50,000 for To Write Love on Her Arms during that event. It was really awesome. It really kind of brought the community together, it brought all our communities together, and I thought we did a really great job, and it really opened my eyes to the power of what a ton of different communities coming together can do if they really put their minds to it. So that will always have a special place in my heart. We don't plan on it being just a one-time event, but I'm always going to have that just as a remembrance for what was just an incredible weekend. Hanging on the edge there, I have some passes. That one's from PAX Unplugged, which I went to last December. Met a couple members of the community, which was a ton of fun. I hope to go to more. I do have pretty bad social anxiety disorder, so I struggle in environments like that. But PAX Unplugged is pretty chill. It's focused on being unplugged. Board games, tabletop role-playing games, stuff like that. So it's a little more relaxed than the full PAX experience and significantly smaller. So if you're like me and you kind of struggle with big crowds, there's still big crowds, but it's really easy to get away from, and everybody's kind of pretty chill there. It was a really good time. So if you're looking for something, PAX Unplugged is, I think, overlooked as one of the better expos to go to throughout the year. So that brings us over to all the stuff over here. So let's start at the top and work our way down. All the way up top, from way, way up top, which doesn't really ever get into the shot because they're on a very high shelf. Sometimes when I'm using my standing desk, you can see the very bottom of the base, but I have a set of figurines from Hogan's Heroes, which is probably my favorite TV show of all time, and that's a pure nostalgia experience. I had a lot of trouble in school and really struggled with attendance and things like that. And I spent a lot of time when I wouldn't be at school watching classic TV. So I Dream of Jeannie, watching obviously like The Price is Right, and Hogan's Heroes is always on during those times, and it always just resonated with me. It's a very silly show, and it's one of those shows where you don't have to pay attention. You just kind of turn your brain off and enjoy just the quirky comedy silliness of the show. So I have Colonel Clink, who was the commandant of the prison camp that it takes place in. If you're not familiar with the show, it's about a group of prisoners of war in World War II who run an underground operation under the noses of the doofy Germans who can never really figure out what's going on. And the doofiest of them is Sergeant Schultz. He knows nothing. And these figurines are gorgeous and brilliant. They are my prized possessions as far as that goes. They're really well done. And among the favorite things that I have, I hadn't been able to even take them out of the boxes or really enjoy them until I built this office. And I've had these for more than 15 years, kind of moving around with us and staying in boxes. So I'm super excited to be able to open them up and to be able to show them off a little bit. So this is Sergeant Hans Schultz. So moving down onto one of the shelves, I have what has become one of my prized possessions. This is Izzy, who passed away last year. Our Keys Hound, who we had since before we had kids. She was Wife Boat and I's first child, really. So this is Izzy, and this was made by a community member, Zell Dangerous, who gave this to me at PAX and told me not to open it until I got home. And that was really good advice because I broke down and bawled like a baby when I saw it. It's gorgeous cross-stitching of Izzy. And then there's a little picture that my son drew that's kind of wedged in there. But let's see. What else we have on that shelf? Also up on that shelf, we have a limited run Tug Love Snapback merch sellout. You can get yours. You actually can't get this. This was prior to the company putting this stuff behind a paywall. So I got a tester because I was very excited about being able to sell this. But this is the only one in existence, and it shall stay that way. But so that's the Tug Love Snapback. It's good quality. And I leave it up there because of the emotes that I have on my channel, this is the one that I made. So I take a lot of pride in that one. Let's see. We also have up here, this is a simple leather thong necklace. But on the end of it is my wedding ring. I don't know if folks have noticed, but I don't wear a wedding ring. One of the reasons is that when we got married, between rock climbing and the job that I had, it was very dangerous to wear rings, so I didn't wear it a lot. So it almost always was on some form of necklace or another. And both Wife Boat and I, who is a nurse, so with washing hands and doing all that stuff, she doesn't wear her rings either. But we ended up just tattooing our wedding bands on our fingers because that's a lot simpler, and you don't have to worry about getting it cut off with an angle grinder or getting it jammed in a rock and having your finger severed. So, so that always hangs there. I don't wear it much or ever, but it always is near me. Now, normally sitting on top of my game over sign back there, we have this guy. And this is actually something my son found at a store. It'll focus on it. There we go. Here we go. It's Mr. T. Another one of my all-time favorite shows. The A-Team is just pure 80s nonsense. It is a ridiculously great show. One where there's just automatic gunfire everywhere, but no one ever actually gets hurt. So that's a little Lego A-Team van with Mr. T holding a wrench on top of it. It's one of the few Legos that I've held on to from when they were little. And we have the newest addition to my collection. We have Pinky and the Brain. This Animaniacs in general is one of the greatest animated shows ever made. I will fight you. And Pinky and the Brain was one of the best shorts that came out of that. That's up there with Good Feathers is also fantastic. I was also very fond of Slappy Squirrel because she was old and cranky. And I've always been an old cranky person at heart. So this is Pinky and the Brain riding a blueprint, and just, it's really well done. I don't remember the company that made this. QFig. QMX made this. It's really well done. Good quality plastic, very detailed, and wasn't that expensive, so there you go. The other figurine we got up there is actually not mine. I stole it from Wifeboat. So this is Monica from Friends. There's a famous episode where she gets a turkey stuck on her head. She puts on glasses and a fez and dances around, and it's hilarious. This is, I think, one of the best Funko Pops that they've ever made. They've made some good ones, and I'm not huge on Funko Pops. I think a lot of them look very, very similar. It's difficult to say, like, oh, that's, so-and-so from that show versus that's so-and-so, like if it's David, this one's supposed to be David Duchovny, this one's Robert Downey Jr. I can't really tell the difference when it's in Funko Pop form, you rely on the props to tell you. But ones like this, I think, are very, very good and silly and fun. So this one, I got this for Wifeboat for her birthday. She's a huge Friends fan. So, and now I've stolen it from my office because, well, I'm a terrible person. Back on the shelf there, I don't want to take him out because he's kind of wedged in there, and it took me a while to get him to stand up. We have, it's Hey Hey from Disney movies. That's actually my son's. He thought it would be funny, so I put it up on the shelf. And he's right. It's funny. And then we come down to the main event. Welcome to Dungeons & Dragons. So one of the things that people first notice in my background are the massive dice that I have. I bought these for my kids when they were pretty young. They are foam, so they're very squishy. They're all foam. I have the full polyhedral set, D20, D12, D10. There's D8, a D6, and a D4. There's only one D10. I don't have a percentile die, unfortunately. It only came with a D10. But they're really fun. My kids actually play D&D with each other and with their stuffed animals. They give them character sheets and they roll these big dice, and it's it's ridiculously adorable. So those I get asked about a lot, and these are awesome, and they're a good showpiece too. Kind of nestled in behind that on top of the boxes is my biggest metal D20, which there's a clip on my channel where you can see me showing this off and then making the mistake of rolling it on my desk. I dented my desk. It's a very heavy die. This has felt on it, and it's soft pine. This is meant to be dented by metal dice. I made this tray myself. It has magnets to close the lid, and inside are the rest of my metal dice. I don't keep them in a bag. I try to keep them out here because they will ding, dent, and scratch and ruin all the other dice. I have quite a selection of different metal D20s in a few different fits and finishes. This is my oldest metal one, which you should be able to tell from the roll marks. This has been through many a campaign at this point. And then probably my prettiest one, other than my oversized white and gold one, is this beautiful blue. And I have a full poly set of that, as well as a bunch of metal D6s. And these are all courtesy of Die Hard Dice, which is a small company out of Utah. If you're interested, dieharddice.com. They make fantastic dice. Their metal dice are very, very reasonably priced. The quality is unbelievable, and they are exceptionally lovely people. I highly recommend that you check them out. They have all kinds of dice, not just metal, but their metal dice are kind of what they're known for, and they're really, really good. Sitting next to that, we have my other bag o' dice. There are... I honestly don't even know how many sets are in here. I'm gonna need a bigger bag soon. I have stopped buying dice because I have a lot. But I have a wide variety of types and shapes and colors. I gotta get my face out of the way. There we go. All kinds of colors and textures. These are, by and large, I don't keep any metal dice in here. but there are just a ton of different really funky colors and styles. And these are a mixture. There are some Cheese X dice in here. A lot of these are also from Die Hard Dice. And then there's one set in here. Oh, it's this one. This set actually, which is also from Die Hard. This set glows in the dark, which I got this. I was initially going to try and run Curse of Strahd for some IRL friends, but that ended up falling through. So I had gotten the glow in the dark dice for some of the moodier fights I thought would be pretty neat. But I have an absolute ton of plastic dice in here that are all just really pretty. I have some rainbow sets for my daughter, a couple really pretty sets for my wife, and some cool sets for my son as well. So there's a lot in there, and I want a lot more, but I'm going to need a bigger bag first. As far as the rest of the D&D shelf, we have the Stranger Things D&D box, which is a Stranger Things adventure using the 5th edition rules, which I also got to run for some IRL friends to try and get them into the hobby, because I figured that was a nice crossover to maybe convince them to try it out. It's difficult, particularly for folks my age, who are still kind of the generation of the satanic panic that was associated with D&D. It's very difficult to kind of get over that mental hurdle that it's not that at all. And with Stranger Things, with them playing D&D in Stranger Things and the popularity of Stranger Things, I figured it was a good crossover. Maybe we could get them interested. But then COVID, so we'll see what happens after COVID's over. Below that is the new D&D Essentials box, both the Starters Kit and the Essentials box. If you're looking to get into the hobby, it's a really good place to start. It offers you a set of dice, it offers you pre-made character sheets, as well as a basic module that you can run, and it's actually really good. The adventure, The Lost Mines of Phandelver is from the first one, and then the adventure in the Essentials kit kind of is a slightly different variation, but they're both very, very good, particularly for new DMs. It gives you everything that you need and still allows a little wiggle room for your creativity. And if you don't end up using that entire thing on its own, it's a really good resource to pull encounters from, both combat encounters and social encounters. Typically, when you're learning to DM, social encounters are some of the more difficult things to kind of flesh out. And both of those modules give you really good impact for social encounters and kind of feed you into how to handle social encounters and the different ways that social encounters can go. So I would recommend both of those boxes, the original Starters Kit and then the new Essentials box. Both have excellent modules within them. So going down the line, I have a lot of D&D source books. In the middle there, I do have one that is not D&D. So this one is Strongholds and Followers, which is done by Matt Colville, who's a great YouTuber. If you're looking to get into DMing, I highly recommend his videos on learning how to DM. He has a lot of great tips and tricks. It's not the be-all, end-all for how to be a DM. You're only going to get that by doing it, and you have to figure out your own style. But he has a lot of time-saving tips, and this was one of the Kickstarters that he did to give Strongholds. I have a couple bookmarks and note papers in here. One of my campaigns, they had a pirate ship, and there's guides for having basically a mobile stronghold, like a pirate ship, that gets upgraded as you go through, which is a really fun mechanic. So this is a really good book. There's a lot of good encounters in here and stuff, as well as some monsters and stuff. So it's a good book, which I think you can still get on Matt Colville's website, I believe. You should be able to. He has another Kickstarter for a warfare module that is coming out as well, which would be a massive warfare, like armies clashing, which he touches on a little bit in this, but more so will be in the second one. And then the rest of the stuff there is basically off-the-shelf generic Dungeons & Dragons stuff. I do have some non-D&D splat books, but those are on another shelf up high. Haven't moved them down into the office yet. Still kind of figuring out what I'm going to fit where and what I'm using most. So right now, that's the D&D books. So down below that is some of my high-use reading books. We have Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy Compendium. That's 5 books put together in one. Then we have the complete works of Edgar Allan Poe, who's one of my favorite authors. Nothing is quite as sullen as being a moody teenager and reading Poe in the dark. And then we have the complete illustrated works of Sherlock Holmes, which are fantastic. There's a reason that Holmes is kind of the trademark and the stamp for good detective serials. It's kind of where it all started. Agatha Christie wouldn't have had the impact that she had, which is, honestly, I think a lot of her stuff is better than the Holmesian stuff. But Sherlock Holmes is kind of where that serial detective formula started, and it's really good. They're great stories and really, really interesting. They've been adapted a million times across media, or drawn from the most recent BBC Sherlock shows, going back to the old versions and old movies of Holmes that are all really fantastic, and they all bring kind of their own light to it. So Holmes will always be a favorite of mine. So the complete works is awesome. Highly recommend. It's illustrated. It's worth it. All the Holmes stuff is in the public domain, so you can get the stories for super cheap or free, but these have great original illustrations from their original publications, and they're awesome. Really, really like them. Next to that, we have the first 3 books of the Dune series. I love, in particular, the first book of the Dune series is fantastic. Have high hopes for the movie, but I love Dune, and I reread through the first Dune every couple years. It's a really good book. I love the pacing of it. As soon as you get through the world building bits in the beginning, it just kind of like takes off, and it feels like you fly through the story. I love the worlds that Frank Herbert built in Dune. It's really, really interesting. After the 3rd book, there's a lot. After the 3rd book, kind of loses the thread. But the first 3 are pretty great. Have a couple Mass Effect books by Drew Carpathian, which are fantastic. If you love the Mass Effect world, I highly recommend you read them. It gives you the backstory on Anderson and Saren, which is super fascinating. It gives you some Cerberus stuff. They're really good. It really fleshes out the world and gives, particularly Mass Effect 1, a little bit more impact, as well as Mass Effect 2, actually, and 3. There's stuff that ties into all three games. Then we have one of my favorite theological books, philosophical books, is Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. Really fantastic story. That's something that I read annually. I make it a point to read annually. It just helps me to kind of refocus and find my center and just put things in perspective. It's a fantastic classic tale. If you're a quick reader, you can honestly get through it in a day. It's not a long book. It's a really good book. I highly recommend. I don't want to say too much about it. A lot of people will read it during high school or in college and then never really get back to it. Those are the kind of books that you should definitely revisit as an adult. You have a different perspective on life, on events, on everything, and you will get more out of those books. So if you bounced off of some of the books that you were forced to read in high school and in college, maybe take a weekend one time and just revisit some of them. You might get a completely different experience with them. Siddhartha was one of those for me. Then we also have, there's a couple more Douglas Adams books down there. Salmon of Doubt, which is fantastic. Long Dark Tea Time of the Soul, which is also amazing. And then Dirk Gently, obviously, is fantastic. Then we have an R.A. Salvatore compendium, as well as a book by Sam Sykes, Seven Blades in Black, which is one of my more recent purchases, but I really enjoyed it. Really good, really strong female lead, which is unfortunately lacking in a lot of fantasy books and doesn't play into a lot of those types of tropes. I think Sam Sykes does a fantastic job with that book. I'm really looking forward to the next one in the series. Then I have a couple of different books over there. I have Shelby's ABCs, which I did for a reading stream earlier this year. And then we have The Manhattan Projects by Hickman, which is a great comic series. If you're interested in like alternate history kind of stuff, Manhattan Projects are outstanding. If you've ever thought about what it would look like for Einstein to be standing in a hallway with bullet straps across his chest, wielding an M249, The Manhattan Projects will fulfill that fantasy for you, I assure you. That about covers everything that I got. I have a few random D&D notebooks that have character ideas and notes for sessions and stuff that are in there. I also have a digital, kind of a digital tablet. As well as some more notebooks. As notebooks on notebooks on notebooks. But this is a bamboo slate, which I'm not really a shill for different companies, but this is awesome. So you write on a notepad using the enclosed pen, which has ink in it. It's just a normal pen, and the tablet records your strokes and puts it perfectly into digital, and you can just copy it over into your PC. Really good for note-taking and then syncing it when you get home. I have used this at my daughter's dance classes, sitting in the waiting room. I will draw out battle maps for D&D, and then I can transfer them right into Roll20 because it puts it into digital format immediately, which is really good. Really good. So if you're in the market for digital note-taking, or even just transferring some basic like line art and things like that, maybe take a look at one of these in the secondhand market. If you're in the market for something like that, that's certainly something to look for. All right. I think that's about it. I still have some other stuff going, and I'm sure I'm going to collect some things over the years. The only thing I glossed over is my game over sign, which was just an Amazon purchase to have something lighted in the background. Wasn't that expensive. You can find it pretty easily on Amazon. It just cycles through RGB colors on the over. It's nice, it works, and it was pretty cheap, and it gives it nice, nice lighted background. So that's about it. I think that covers everything. I have a few more posters and things that are coming in eventually, and I'm sure I'm going to collect some stuff over the years, and maybe we'll do an update video for this at some point when that happens, once I have some more stuff. So that's all I got. I hope that you enjoyed this little brief glimpse into some of the crap I keep around my office. So that's all I got. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. I hope you all have a fantastic time in whatever it is you're doing. And as always, as ever, remember, be good to each other. Bye, everybody.